Have you ever been in a meeting or in an interview where you felt like you were rambling? Have you ever felt that way before? It happens to the best of us. And in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can learn how to speak more concisely as a woman in leadership. Now, you definitely want to watch this video until the end because there's certain aspects of speaking concisely that people talk about often, but there's one aspect of it that people do not talk about as much that I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to share with you over 20 years of experience that I've had as a public speaker, as an executive coach, as a C-suite executive, and as a director to help you accelerate your career path and your growth as a woman in leadership. Now, my channel specifically focuses in on helping women in leadership be able to go to that next level in their careers. However, I have a lot of people that are a part of my audience. So in my one-on-one setting, I work with women in leadership, but on social media, I have a lot of women in leadership and men in leadership. And so the information I'm going to share with you truly just does transcend gender. And if you are a woman in leadership or a man in leadership, you're going to gain some insight in terms of how to speak concisely in this specific video. Now, if you're watching a portion of this video at this moment, you are more than likely watching the replay. So welcome. Glad you're here today. There's typically a point in the YouTube videos that are live streamed where people will start to join. And when people start to join, I'll say hello to everyone. Give me just a few moments so I can greet those who are here live. And then we'll go into some ways in terms of how you can start speaking concisely as a woman in leadership. First, let's start off with why speaking concisely is really important. Most of the time, people do not or may not take you seriously if you're not speaking concisely. And I'm sorry, the sun is very bright in this area. I'll try to put I'm in construction track, and so everything's going slow. But a lot of times when you're trying to communicate, specifically as a leader, if you are not speaking in a very concise way, it makes it extremely difficult for people to listen to what you have to say or to speak to you in a more professional manner. Why is this a struggle specifically for leaders or for women in leadership? Well, oftentimes as women in leadership, we want to establish rapport. We want to be able to communicate, want to be able to connect with other individuals, thoughtful debate or conversation. However, in a one-on-one setting, when they're trying to speak concisely, what happens is that they tend to speak a lot more than what they really need to in a conversation. And that is where the rambling starts, right? The rambling starts at that point. So before I go into this in more detail, I want to say hello, welcome those of you who are here today. If you've ever struggled with speaking concisely, maybe you've rambled in a conversation and you didn't know what to say, you just kept rambling. Well, this is the video for you. I'm going to share with you over 20 years of experience I've had as a public speaker, as a C-suite executive, as a director. I've been able to communicate and be more concisely in my communication. So if you want to learn how to do this, you want to definitely watch this video and give a thumbs up so that more people will be able to watch it as well. And if you like this content, you're welcome to subscribe. All right, Mohammed Subhani, welcome. How you doing today? Let me all know if you are joining from a specific part of the world today. Would love to be able to greet you and say hello. So let me know where you're all joining from and what questions you have specifically about communicating concisely. Let me know in the comments below. So I shared with you, for those of you who just joined, welcome, why speaking concisely is really, truly important. And this is very important. So let me see what's going on in the chat. Mohammed Sabani says, speaking Persian by me. Okay, well, welcome, friend. Hope you're doing well today. Thank you for being here. I have a couple of my friends from dental school that are Persian. So really appreciate everyone there and appreciate the people. So sorry, everybody. It's construction here in this part of Florida where I'm at, so that's why it's been slower, and you may hear some people blowing horns because they're mad because it's taking too long. But let me see, Miriam Afifi, welcome, friend. Hope you're doing fantastically well today. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you're joining from today. Okay, so why, we talked a bit about why people struggle with speaking concisely. So we talked about that. Specifically women in leadership, why do they struggle with speaking concisely? We're trying to build rapport we're trying to have a conversation, but then sometimes we just don't know when to maybe pause and do something differently. And this affects women in leadership. This does affect men in leadership also. Sometimes we just don't know when to stop. We don't know when to stop talking. Now, a lot of times on YouTube, you're going to hear different things that come up, and some of the things that you may hear about speaking concisely focuses very, very heavily on the actual speaking part of being concise. And this is something that tends to happen quite a bit because there is the speaking portion of speaking concisely, right? This is completely a critical aspect of it. Now, I will say this. The other part of it is that there's a certain amount of planning you have to do when you're trying to speak concisely also. And that's the part that people don't really talk about in terms of speaking concisely. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that how you communicate and how you are able to communicate in a concise way is really important, because people will take you more seriously if you're able to communicate in a concise way. So I want to say hello to John DAG. Welcome, friend. Hope you're doing fantastically well today. I appreciate you for being here, and let me just know specifically what questions you have about speaking concisely. Let me know in the comments below. Miriam Afifi says, okay, Bet. Okay, well, thank you for being here. And let me know if y'all have any questions about speaking concisely. Maybe there's something specifically that you struggle with as it relates to being able to speak concisely as a leader. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be able to provide you with some insight before I leave the live today. So as I mentioned to you, there's a verbal part of speaking concisely. So you want to take your time and speak slower than you normally would. Most of the time when people are trying to start communicating as leaders, as public speakers, the very first thing that we typically do is that we will speak very, 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 very quickly, very fast. And when you speak very fast, people do not understand what you are saying. And oftentimes that will sound like a ramble. So one strategy I would suggest for you, if you're trying to speak more concisely, is to slow down a little bit in terms of what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it. If you slow yourself down, you will most likely be at a point where people can actually listen to what you're actually saying. It feels odd initially because you feel like you should be speaking a lot faster, but this is the reason why you're watching this video and you're subscribed hopefully to this channel, so that you learn these very advanced level skills that come up when you are trying to speak more concisely. So number one, slow down a bit in terms of what you're trying to say. The second strategy I'll share with you in terms of how to speak more concisely is that you will need to do this. And this is what I mentioned at the beginning. This is what people don't really talk about when they're speaking concisely. Typically, this is important. You want to write this down because a lot of people don't talk about this on YouTube. Typically, when you have a meeting, you know specifically what it is you are going to be discussing in your meeting most of the time. Now, if you're in a higher level of leadership, maybe you're a senior leader or a manager, sometimes you will have no idea what the meeting is about and you're expected to speak about it anyways. Those situations happen. If you want to learn how to be more concise in your communication in those specific instances, if you're a woman in leadership, then contact me in the link below. There is a link to a strategy session where you and I can have a one-on-one, very brief conversation about where you are, where you want to be in terms of how you are communicating, so I can help you be able to speak very concisely as a leader. Now, as I mentioned, the majority of the time, you know what the conversation is going to be about. Even if you are a business owner and you own a business, if someone asks you about your business, what do? You know what you're going to talk about. Therefore, what people do not talk about here often in terms of speaking concisely is that you have to plan ahead in terms of what you want to say. Now, that doesn't mean you need to rehearse exactly what you want to say, because you do not want to sound like a robot. However, you do want to have a general guideline in terms of what it is specifically if you are having a conversation with somebody. So let's say, for instance, if you are going to a meeting and let's say you're working for an organization or a company and they are having a meeting about a specific project, a specific initiative or program, then the way for you to speak concisely is to prepare at least one, at the minimum one or two talking points that you want to discuss during the meeting. If you prepare them in advance, then this will give you the opportunity to start thinking in your mind specifically what is it that you want to discuss with them. That will allow you to appear more concisely in your communication. If you go to your meetings and you know they're going to talk about a specific topic, a specific program, a specific initiative, and you go to the meeting unprepared to talk about that, it will appear as if you are not prepared and you are not concise. Concise individuals are the people that are able to capture the attention of other individuals. And if you're at a particular point in your career where perhaps you're being overlooked for positions or promotions or etc., one of the strategies I tell my clients to do is to think about how you are communicating, because there may be something that you are not missing in your communication that might be a bit more challenging for you as it relates to getting more visibility in your role as a leader. So really think about how you are speaking and how you're being concise in terms of your communication. So as I mentioned, most of the time, majority of the time, leaders, we have some idea as to what specifically our meetings are going to be about. Take just a few moments. Please learn from my over 20 years of experience doing this. Take a few moments to think about your one or two talking points that you want to share during your specific meeting. This will help you to sound more concise also. So I mentioned to you already 2 strategies that will help you to speak more concisely. And if you want me to go into more detail on this, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be happy to give you a video that goes into a lot more depth. But I talk about a lot of these very high level, highly advanced strategies here on my YouTube channel. You'll find videos that talk about making eye contact or speaking in public, having difficult conversations, and etc. This is what I talk about on my channel. So if you like this information and you happen to be a woman in leadership in my direct target audience in terms of who I do one-on-one services with, or maybe you're a man in leadership and you know you're trying to elevate in terms of going to that next level in your career or next level in your role, then this is definitely the place for you. I definitely will show you more advanced skills that will make you stand out as a leader from everybody else. So let me see what's going on in the chat. So we have a couple comments from Miriam Afifi, and John DAG says thank you for this information. Absolutely, John, you're very, very welcome. And if you have any questions specifically, feel free to let me know in the comments below. In terms of speaking concisely, I'll be happy to answer them for you. And John DAG, you're welcome to subscribe to the channel. If this information was helpful to you, I have a lot of information here, especially on my live tab here on my YouTube channel, that will likely help you quite a bit. Because if you are clicking on this video, then I already know you are someone that will definitely benefit from the information I'm sharing, because you're interested in elevating yourself. And my mission here on this earth is really to help you communicate at the higher level. I truly believe that people become great by how they communicate. And my role here is to really unlock the greatness within you. And I do that by being able to have a conversation with you and to share with you some insights to help you really go to that next level in your career, especially how you communicate. Because many times leaders and managers are placed into these different types of roles, and this is foreign to a lot of people, especially leaders. Sometimes we go into roles, we're just promoted, right? We're promoted into these positions and we have absolutely no idea of what we need to do or how we need to manage employees, how we need to manage coworkers, difficult conversations, and etc. This happens a lot in leadership, and I've seen it over the past 20 years. Particularly women in leadership do struggle with this also, because many of us are just now transitioning into the senior level type of roles that have often been predominantly occupied by men. And we are not quite sure, how do we navigate these conversations? How do we present ourselves as the leader? How can we showcase our executive presence? How can we really get our teams to become invested? And how can we influence other people? And a lot of this starts by how you communicate. And if you are not able to communicate in a very concise type of way, it makes it very, 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 very challenging and very difficult for you to be able to get that buy-in in terms of moving forward or showcasing your initiatives or moving your agenda forward as it relates to your business and your role. Okay, let's see. Marion Afifi had a couple comments. Marion Afifi says, are you driving? Yes, I'm in a vehicle. I'm in a seatbelt, and you will see the vehicle moving. So yes, I am driving. So I shared with you 2 insights. The first insight in terms of speaking concisely as a woman in leadership, or perhaps if you're a man in leadership watching this as well, is to slow down. Most people, when they are speaking in front of a group of people, they will speed up and speak very fast because why? Either they're nervous or they may just want to get everything out very quickly because they just don't want to speak too much longer. The second strategy that I shared with you all is to make sure that you plan ahead in terms of what you want to say. I cannot overemphasize this enough, how planning ahead just a small amount will make you appear as someone that is very, very concise. So planning ahead is really important. And if you're just joining, welcome. Glad you're here today. Feel free to let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you're joining from today. And if you have ever struggled with communicating in a concise way, maybe you've rambled in a conversation, let me know in the comments below. Or subscribe to my channel if you want to learn how not to do that. But we've talked about several strategies, and I mentioned to you planning ahead is so important. If for those of you who have just joined, I mentioned that majority of time as women in leadership, we know what conversations we're about to have. We know what the subject of the conversation is, what the overall topic of the conversation is, and etc. Therefore, if we already know what we're going to talk about, then just develop 1 or 2 talking points to help you be able to sound more concise when you're communicating with other people in your meetings. Now, I hope this information has been helpful to you and you've gained some insights. I do want to know from you which of these 2 strategies I share with you. Now, there's many more, okay? There's many more, but I only have time this morning to share with you 2 strategies in terms of how to speak concisely. But which of these strategies did you find the most helpful? And which strategy do you feel like you need to start working on now? Let me know in the comments below. I will share with you, when I started off on my journey, I spoke too fast. I spoke way too fast when I was speaking. I had to learn how to slow down, and I had to take time to prepare also. So I have struggled with these 2. I have mastered them now, but this is something that I have found to help my clients be able to speak more concisely as women in leadership. So if you want to learn more information about this, let me know in the comments below. As I mentioned, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many technique strategies that come into play when you're trying to speak more concisely. Therefore, if you want to learn them and you want to master them and you want to elevate yourself, maybe you want to go into a different position, a different career, you want to earn more money in terms of your income, or if you're working for an organization, your salary, then subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. I'll provide you with a lot of great insight to help you on your journey. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I will be live later this evening to perhaps go into more detail about speaking concisely. So if you want to learn more strategies, tips, then join me live later this evening, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye for now.